Okay, The Voice fans, we are here with the winner of season 18, Todd Tilghman. My name is Marcus James Dixon with Gold Derby, and Denton Davidson is here as well, our live blogger. Denton does every live blog for The Voice with a Jumbo Nutty, and you know more about The Voice than anybody, Denton, so I'm going to give you the first question here for Todd.
Sure. Well, first of all, congratulations on winning season 18. And I guess the first question I want to know is, what was it like as you were waiting in those final seconds, waiting to hear Carson Daly sort of reveal that name? I mean, could you hear him? Were you concerned? Sort of run us through your thoughts at that moment.
Okay, yeah. Well, honestly, man, in those last moments right before the winner was announced, I actually feel like mentally and emotionally, I was maybe, I don't know if better is the word I should use, but I was maybe better in an emotional place than I was in the other eliminations because of a couple of things. Number one, like you made top 5, so I was like, by this time we'd made top 3, so I'm like, you made top 3, so you really can't complain about that. But then on the other hand too, we were trying to explain, I was spending a lot of those last moments trying to remind my kids, to make sure that whenever they announce the winner, you guys make sure to smile and clap. Don't start crying, And so it really, I think my mind was sort of preoccupied, but you know how it is. The panic sets in a little bit. They always make you just wait like 10 seconds or something.
Yes.
And the winner of The Voice is, and then the panic starts to set in a little, because I guess going into it, I never would have really dreamed that I was going to win. And I mean, going into the finale, it's not that I didn't think there was a possibility at all. I mean, you're top 5, but I just didn't assume that I would win. And so, then in those moments, you're like, holy crap, I could win, And so the panic does set in a little.
I think around the knockouts, we ran a poll, who was your favorite? Who do you want to win? And I think you won the poll by like 90%. So at that time, I'm like, I need to pay attention to Todd. He's got a lot of fans out there.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for telling me that. That makes me feel good.
And I just looked back at your audition, and there was this really heartwarming moment where Blake said, I've done the show for 18 seasons, and people like you are the reason I continue to come back to this show. So what was that like when he actually said that on television?
Man, when he said that, I feel like, first of all, when I went in, I was pretty sure I was going to pick Blake Shelton. I had sort of in the process of my time, I had thought, if they were to both turn, I might lean Blake, I might lean Kelly, because Kelly does have sing more like me. I sing loud and belty, and so I had thought back and forth, but I mean, in reality, I was always leaning toward Blake Shelton. But when he said that, even my wife backstage, she said, when he said that, I knew that sealed the deal, When he said that, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go with my gut and the first person that I said I was going to do. And I went with him.
You made history in a couple ways this season. I don't know if you're aware. The first thing, since we're talking about your blind audition, is you're the first artist who's ever been the first shown on the show to go on to win the entire Voice, because you were actually the first audition that we saw in the auditions.
I know the first audition. I didn't know that part, though. Thanks.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing is, we've seen a lot of winners in the past. They're 15, 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
So here you come along. You're a little older. What took you so long to audition, and what do you say to those people who might be 40 or 45 years old that thought, oh, my time's passed, I'm not going to go for it?
Well, I will say, it's not that I don't regret at all not pursuing music. I do a little, but frankly, the reason that I didn't audition for this for so long is a couple of reasons. The less important one is I didn't necessarily feel like, if you watch The Voice or any of these shows like this, these people are like the cream of the crop. And so I didn't really feel like I stacked up against them. And then secondly, I was really content with my life and happy with my life. And so then just a couple of years ago, maybe I started, and I don't know if it was like a midlife crisis or what. I joke about that, but maybe that's really what happened. Something just inside me was just like, you can't keep doing things exactly like you're doing them. You got to do something else. And I literally looked into all of these different things like this. Like I looked into real estate, And so, but when the voice thing came, I know it was a shot in the dark. I didn't think, well, I'm going to go win the voice, you know, because I want to do something different. So I did that. But then as far as anybody else that's around my age, you know, I think Tanisha and me are close to the same age. I'm not exactly sure how old she is, but I know we're pretty close to the same age. And so I would say use us as examples to just go for it, you know, and do it scared. And I was scared the whole time. I was intimidated the whole time because you're with all of the really gifted and talented people. But not only that, they're like young and beautiful, you know. And so I would tell them, go for it. Wherever you are, if you feel like you should go for it, I'm not talking about just the voice, whatever it is, then stop what you're doing and go for it.
And speaking of Tanisha, NBC just announced a couple hours ago, I don't know if you know this, she was actually second place and Thunderstorm was third. So what does that say about Blake Shelton, that he didn't just have the winner, he had the second placed artist as well?
Right. Yeah. You know, though, I mean, it's weird when you talk about your coach, because when you talk about your coach in these interviews, it almost seems like it's implied that the other coaches are bad, and they're not, you know, like they're all really very good coaches and very gifted singers. And not only that, really connected in the music industry. But I mean, I only had Blake Shelton, and so did Tanisha. We were with him from the very beginning. And so I really can't compare him to any other coach, but I will say he just has a way of making you feel really comfortable. And I feel like if you feel more at peace, you'll perform better, you know? And so he just has a way about him of making you feel like almost like you're, you know, sitting around the dining room table, just, you know, chatting with him or something. And so maybe that plays into it. He's also very, very, like complimentary. He's always building you up and giving you confidence. And so that probably played into it as well, you know, but he feels like a friend. That may play to it. Who knows what it was.
I want to talk about your single, The Long Way Home. It's shot all the way to #1 on iTunes. And when you look at that, you look at the top 10 and you're on there with artists like Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan, Lady Antebellum, The Weeknd, and then all the voice coaches, of course, Blake Kelly and Nick Jonas are all on there. What's it like to have a #1 song on iTunes and be amongst all those people?
Man, for that to have happened was just unreal to me. Like when they released that, and first of all, let me just shout out all of these people. There's more people that I don't really know personally. Well, I don't really know all these people super personally, but like Ryan Ennis and Esther and Shane from Songland. And then there was a couple of other people who had a hand in writing that song, you know. So let me just shout them out first, because they really are the real MVPs behind that. But when it first was like, my song is on iTunes, of course, you know, my family's looking it up and they're like, oh, we're like, oh, look at this. We're like number 63. And I was like celebrating, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, a song that I'm singing is 63 on iTunes. But then when it got to #1, it's like this whole voice experience. It's almost like it hasn't soaked into me that I sang a song that shot to #1 on iTunes, you know?
So I have a two-part question here. The first one, what would your instant save song have been if you were ever in the bottom, which you weren't? And second, was there ever a song you really, really wanted to sing, but for some reason, like rights reasons or whatever, you couldn't sing it on the show?
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a good question. Well, the instant save song, I don't know if, I hope I'm allowed to say, it was decided. It would have been Bless the Broken Road by Rascal Flatts.
Oh, nice.
That would have been the instant save song. But if there was a song that I would have sang, you know, I don't know, like, and I know that I have like this really loud voice, you know. I used to say I had a big voice, but then people thought that I was bragging, so I changed that to loud. So like, I know that I have like this really loud kind of voice, so a lot of people wouldn't expect this from me. But I had put on my list of songs that I was interested in singing, like "The Luckiest" by Ben Folds. It's a beautiful song, you know, and it's actually really personal to me and my wife, and so I would have loved to have done that. I would have loved to have done like "Whip and Post." Whip and Post would have been so much fun.
Would have been great. So now that you've sort of kicked off your career in this grand fashion, what would we expect next from Todd Tilghman on an album or a single? What kind of music do you want to make going forward?
Well, you know, as far as the kind of music that I want to make, I imagine that I'm on the same boat with, I hope, everyone, but at least almost everyone who makes music, which would be, it's really important to me to make music that like, and everybody has like different sort of I don't know the word I'm looking for. Everybody has like different sort of targets. My target, and it may be because I'm 41 years old and I've been married 21 years and I got 8 kids and I've lived a lot of life. But my target would be like Long Way Home. These things that we endure in our lives that are like the passing of time, you know, your kids are growing up and life is passing us by. And so I basically just want to like reach in and allow people to feel and really they even asked me like in the original song section, which that y'all was I don't want to say favorite because everything was so great, but it was one of my favorite things when we got to work, when it was just, I mean, I know I was on the screen, but it was like me and Blake and then Esther and Shane from Songland. And there was just like this energy in that. And it was so cool and so much fun, you know? But before that, they had asked me in an email, the people from the show, you know, what kind of feel maybe would you like to have in an original song? Because I actually sent them a couple of things that I had written, but I love this song that we did, so I'm glad we went with this one. But I had told them that there's a song by an old contemporary Christian band called Jars of Clay. I don't even know if they're still around. There's a song called Frail, and it has this really lengthy guitar opening, and that just moves you. And then also I know most people know the song Rise Up by Andra Day. And I was like, you know, these songs, they move you and they make you feel like there's hope in this world. And that's what I want to do with music, you know? That's what I hope I can do.
And it's no secret this season was different than any other because of the pandemic and everyone being quarantined at home. Do you feel in a way that your voice journey was kind of cut short, or do you feel like, you know, you just had to adapt to what was going on? And second question, if they asked you back to perform on next season's live shows to kind of make up for it, would you say yes?
Okay, well, first of all, I'll try to go in order here, and y'all stop me if I get jacked up. And also, you stop me anytime, by the way. I'll talk and talk and talk for days. But first of all, when we found out, because we're all, well, I say all of us, there were a couple of minors in the group, but we're all grown enough to know. We were all adults basically. So we all sort of knew that something was going to happen. You know, we weren't going back for the live shows, at least not in April, you know? And so, so we were waiting. I was just really praying they didn't just cancel the whole season, you know? And so, when we finally found out that we were going to do remote, they explained it very well to us. But I will say we were a top 20 then. They hadn't even revealed the 4-way knockout. I don't even know if the episode with the 4-way knockout had aired yet. You know, I don't think it had. So we were top 20 then. No, it hadn't. But anyway, we were top 20, and I know I was, and I know the other 19 people. We were disappointed because, you know, in the process of all of this, you're sort of like it's not just that you're going to get to go be on The Voice, which is really a super cool experience, but also, you know, especially those of us like me or like Todd Michael Hall or Tanisha or some of the rest of us, you know, we're like planning our lives. We're adults with families, so we're sort of planning our lives toward that. And when that changed, it was a little disappointing. But I will say this, and this is another thing I've said in several interviews. I've always learned in my whole life that even though you might keep drawing breath, if you stop learning, then you're really dead. You've died when you stop learning, you know? And so I appreciated that we could learn all of these things, and we could sort of grow in our knowledge of these things and then adapt to the circumstances. But ultimately in all of this, when I stood and watched, and you could really see it too in the episode when it aired, but like when I stood here in front of my tablet and watched my top 9 song, Love Me, by Colin Ray, to me, that's when like it hit me like, Todd, this is how this was supposed to happen. That never would have happened had I been in California. And so I'm just so super grateful. Even though I was disappointed up front, I'm really grateful now that it happened the way it did. And if they asked me back, I would come back in a heartbeat. You know, they treat you so well. I've gained a lot of weight, which I don't need to do because they feed you so well, you know. And then in the live shows, we just like, you don't have time to work out or anything. So people keep bringing me food up here and I just eat it. So, you know, but yeah, I would go back in a heartbeat.
And my final question for you is, you know, in most seasons, we kind of see some of the behind the scenes in the recording studio. And I sort of was wondering, you know, how are they going to release any singles at all? So how did you end up actually recording the 2 songs that are on iTunes, both your debut single and Authority song with Blake?
Okay, yeah, they sent us at the beginning, really, when the live shows were getting ready to go live. They sent us a bunch of equipment, and basically the way that it worked was when we're singing our songs, you have and I'm sure you guys know when I first opened the box, I was just super. Like, I was basically terrified. I didn't know how to do any of these things. So, but they send you this like audio interface and you plug it into your laptop or really tablet that they sent us. And you plug that in there and you plug your microphone in there and you plug your in-ears in there. And then what they do is they have John in audio on the team was on there every time. And he's, and I know they have a super gifted audio team, but they really, it's a really sophisticated process. So we recorded it right here. I recorded, both of those songs really right here in this room.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for chatting with us today. And yeah. I think the best way to end would just be, is there anything you want to say to your fans out there who are watching this video?
Yes. I just want to say to everybody, I love you and thank you. And I am so grateful. I cannot believe that this happened to me. I can't believe I even made it on The Voice. And then I don't even, when Carson Daly said my name in the finale, I literally don't know what happened for the next few seconds. When I came to myself, they were I keep pointing over here because the tablet's right here still. They were calling my name on the tablet. Like I had to, there's more things that happen. You don't just win and then that's it. They shut off everything, So I could not. And if you guys don't air any of the rest of this interview, please air that I love y'all. And I am so grateful for everything. This is all y'all. Y'all did this. I didn't do this.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day. Okay.
All right. Y'all, thank you so much. This was fun.